Hey y'all, Lily here. Today we are discussing the Unitarian Church Cemetery in Charleston, South Carolina. This cemetery happens to be one of the oldest in the country, even though it is not the oldest in Charleston. It just happens to be one of the oldest in both the area and in the US. It is said to be haunted by a lady in white who wanders the cemetery at night, essentially haunting anybody who disturbs her peaceful rest. While her identity is not exactly known, we do have a few potential ladies who have been linked to this ghost in the past, and we're going to discuss them today. Now, just a quick reminder if you happen to love urban mythology and folklore from the United States, please like my video and subscribe to my channel, Lily's Lore and Legends, and consider joining my free Discord or becoming a monthly Lore Lovers member. I have links to both in the description. Today's lore came to me from one of my books, and it is The Ghost Bridge and Other Creepy Tales of the Haunted South. It is a Books a Man exclusive that I happened to pick up the other few weeks ago. I was flipping through, and one of the stories caught my eye, and it was entitled "My Annabelle Lee." Now, as somebody who is a Poe lover myself, I immediately recognized the name Annabelle Lee, and I had to look more into it. And that brings us to where we are today and our first potential lady in white. As legend goes, Anna Ravenel was the 14-year-old daughter of Edmund Ravenel, a prominent man in Charleston, and the family name is still one that is well known in the local area today. She was in love with a soldier despite the fact she was betrothed to another man, and she would secretly meet her love in the cemetery late at night. When her father found out, he locked her in her room, and she eventually caught and passed away from what is thought to be yellow fever without ever seeing her love again. After she died, her father buried her next to 3-foot deep empty plots. Some sources say that there were 5 empty plots, other sources say that there was 5 plots total. But it was so when her love came and visited her, he would not know which grave was hers and would not be able to mourn for her properly. And the man she happened to be in love with at the time was 18-year-old Edgar Allan Poe, who was stationed in the area under the name Edgar A. Perry. She is said to haunt her grave and the empty plots, waiting for Edgar to return. Now, I never really knew Edgar Allan Poe was in the area. I do enjoy his work, but I don't really know much of his history. So I did a little brief research on him whenever I was making sure that this was accurate. And he really did go to the Charleston area. He really did know the Ravenel family, and he actually based his piece Goldbug on his time in the area, and the narrator is said to be based on Edmund. Now, as far as Anna herself, there was a real life Anna Ravenel who died in Charleston in 1829, which is right around the time that our story Anna would have passed away, as Poe was in the area from 1827 to 1828. But she is not our Annabelle Lee. This Anna was a wife and mother of 1 to 3 children, depending on which genealogy site you are on. And she was born in 1791, making her actually a few years older than Edmund, who was born in 1797. So she's also not really a real Ravenel. She was married into the family from the Ford family, and she is currently laid to rest in a marked grave at St. Peter's Episcopal Churchyard in Charleston. Edmund himself, like I said, he was born in 1797. He had no children by the name of Anna, and he did not have any children that early in his life. Even his older siblings did not have children that would have been Anna's age around that time, and none of his siblings, it is safe to say, actually had children by the name of Anna or around that time. Now, there is a small additional piece to this puzzle where when Poe was in Charleston, he may have heard an already local legend of a woman who was in love with a sailor and would meet him late at night. And when the sailor was off at sea and her father found out, um, he locked her up. She died. He had her buried with 5 empty plots, so when the sailor returned, he would not be able to find her. It is possible that Poe heard this local legend and mixed it with the inspiration that his wife brought him, and he formed then the piece Annabel Lee. It's also completely possible, that he did meet and fall in love with a woman, but this was not the Anna was not the woman that he was in love with at the time. So, while a interesting piece of lore, unfortunately, there is no truth behind the love story part, even though there is truth behind the Poe part. Our next potential lady in white is none other than Lavina Fisher. And if you are a true crime lover, you would recognize this name possibly from the fact that it is said she is one of America's first female serial killers. Lavina and her husband John were actually arrested and convicted of the crime of highway robbery. So, how do we get serial killers from that? But they ran a hotel together in Charleston, South Carolina. And it is said that when the guests would come in, Lavina would give them poison tea that they would drink. And then her husband would either come in and beat them to death or near death, or they would go to sleep in their rooms. And later on, they would pull a lever and have the bed collapse into a pit. Um, when they were arrested and then later on put to death, it is said John reportedly found God before dying and maintained his innocence and begged the crowd to forgive him, which kind of contradicts each other. You're either innocent or, you need forgiveness. But Lavina, on the other hand, her last words were reportedly save your words for others that want them. But if you have a message to send to hell, give it to me. I'll carry it. And it is rumored that they were both buried in unmarked graves in the Unitarian Church Cemetery, and that Lavina haunts anyone who disturbs her grave. Now, this is another kind of case of there is some truth mixed in with some fiction here. They were real people, and it is very much believed that they were murderers. And after their death, they actually did find bodies in the hotel grounds, buried out back, basically. Lovely, huh? Um, so they were real life people. They were tried and convicted. They were arrested for what at the time was a criminal. I'm sorry. At the time, it was a capital offense of highway robbery. But that's pretty much all that kind of is known. It's not known for certain whether or not they did murder anybody. And the reports of where they are buried are a bit more fantastical than what they may seem. They are actually buried in the Potter's Field near the old city jail. Like most criminals at the time were not in the Unitarian Church Cemetery or even in the Circular Congregational Church Cemetery, which is the other place that is often said that they are buried at. So they are buried, Potter's Field and not in a normal cemetery, and therefore would have no real reason to haunt this location. And lastly, we have for our potential lady in white, probably I think, one of the more heartbreaking stories. And it is a story of Mary Whiteridge. And she was a happily married woman. She had lived a wonderful life with her husband and he had had poor health his entire life. He fell ill, most likely with tuberculosis or consumption, as they often called it, and he was sent to Baltimore, Maryland for treatment. Now, while he was on his way to Baltimore, he unfortunately did not make it there. He passed away during the trip, and they sent word back to Mary about claiming his body so that way he could be buried in the family plot. They never heard from her and ended up having to bury him in a Pottersfield in the city cemetery in Baltimore. But she never responded because supposedly Mary died the same exact day as her husband while she was in Charleston, and she was laid to rest in the Unitarian Church Cemetery next to an empty grave plot. She apparently haunts her grave, waiting for him to return. Now, Mary is a very real person. She was really married, really did die, and really is buried in the Unitarian Church Cemetery right next to her husband, who died 10 years later, like 10 years and a month. She died on January 23rd, 1907. Her husband, Mr. Whiteridge, died on February 8th, 1917. He actually died in Hendersonville, North Carolina. It's a beautiful area if you ever get a chance to go there, but has been buried next to Mary in Charleston. So while that was, I think, the best story for, who haunts the Unitarian Church Cemetery, unfortunately, it is just a bit of ghostly lore in and of itself. Now, while I was doing my research, I did come across not a lot of video or photographs of the area that would be spooky or haunted, but I did come across two shorts on YouTube, and they were both taken by the same gentleman. And it did say that he was going to have a full video on his channel, and I unfortunately never saw it. I don't know if I just missed it or what, but I didn't see it. But the first EVP that he caught using a spirit box simply says hi. The second one, he asked, something along the lines of, "What were your final words? What did you say?" And it responded back, "Devil." Now, you guys know me. I tend to not like certain ghost investigation tools. Sparboxes are one of them, especially this particular type, where it is the radio signal running through. With something as quick as high, you really could pick that up from it just running through. With something like devil, to me, it didn't necessarily sound like devil, and it just sounded like sounds kind of coming through, but the person who recorded it thought it was. I have them linked in the written post that I have done so you can watch them. It's up to you whether or not you believe if they're real. If they are real, I'm not quite sure who he caught. It is a cemetery and it is a quite old cemetery, so there's any possibility of spirits that could be haunting the area. But it is, while these are related to Lavina, unfortunately, she wouldn't have no reason to be at this particular cemetery. And I did also find a very lovely walkthrough video of the cemetery. It's only about 10 minutes long. Um, that I have linked it in my written, and I'll link it down in the description, that I think is just a beautiful little video for you to see the cemetery firsthand, walking through and seeing just how, I don't want to really call it overgrown because it's not really overgrown. It's just more naturally maintained and it's beautiful. But I hope you guys have a great day. We are currently doing more research on Twitch every Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. on Eastern Time on Twitch. I am doing a little bit of research. If I have anything that I'm researching that with you guys, but I'm also just doing some fun little things here and there. So if you guys want to come hang out with me, that would be great. Like I said, every Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. It is the Lily Lore. If you wish to follow me on social media, I am either Lily's Lore or Lily's underscore lore at pretty much everywhere. And I am the Lily Lore everywhere as well. That is my personal social media if you wish to follow it. But I hope you guys have a great day. I am currently doing about one lore piece a month, and I have filler content coming in with our pocket lore, our lore lingo, and just some other fun things here and there. But once a month, we are trying to get a video out to you guys so that way you have fun lore to enjoy. But I hope you guys have a great one, and I will see you guys all in the next one.